name's Peter Mann. I am the Partners in Performance Energy Transition Practice Lead for Australia and New Zealand. And Brian and I spend a lot of time talking and in this new world, some of it virtual, some of it face-to-face. G'day, Brian. Would you mind giving a bit of an introduction to your background and experience?
My background began in the early days in mineral processing technologies. Over the last 15 years, I've spent focusing on energy transition, primarily for mining and oil and gas companies, and everything that's involved with the changes in regulation and changes in emissions reduction processes and techniques and policies that were coming through, and a large way into what can be done practically on site.
Hydrogen and its role in industrial processes and energy is a really hot topic, not just here in Australia, but around the world. How do you see hydrogen emerging as a fuel source over the coming years?
Absolutely, hydrogen's going to continue going. We're going to need more fertiliser, I think, as we need to feed more people and grow more things. Everyone's forecasting that fertiliser consumption is going up, not down. So we can expect hydrogen and ammonia and the fertiliser and explosive industries to be intimately linked. And they're the base load, really, for hydrogen consumption. After that, we start looking at, well, who's next? Who's going to be in the hydrogen economy? Who will pick up hydrogen versus who will choose to go electric and batteries? And then there's a fundamental substitution between one or the other. We're seeing transport as probably the next step. And it's a matter of not all of transport will go to hydrogen, but there's certain segments within that transport sector that we think will gravitate to hydrogen. They're generally longer distance, heavier vehicles are probably the main ones that are the best example of that. Hydrogen may end up in shipping. There may be some other things that they'll look at, and hydrogen may end up in the airlines, but there may be some things they're looking at, but generally remote area stuff. Hydrogen is already making sense in backup generation, so we will see that, but I think the volumes of hydrogen will be less important. It'll be more about the fact that fuel cells have much less moving parts, much less maintenance requirements, and the total cost of ownership of a hydrogen backup generator is today making sense in things like the telecommunication industry. The really last piece that was going to be interesting is how long it takes for the steel industry to gravitate out of carbon-based energy forms. And we think hydrogen will ultimately have to come into steel. And then once they start coming in, then it'll add another 50 to 100 million tonnes worth of hydrogen consumption. But in all, we're looking at a future hydrogen market that could be a 200 to 300 million tonne market from its current 50 to 80 million tonne kind of work.
Do you see hydrogen actually becoming a commodity that's going to be traded globally, or is it more going to be developed and used from a local geographical perspective?
If you map out those sorts of quantities, it probably doesn't justify globally trading. When you begin to push and globally move hydrogen, you start adding dollars per kilogram to the end product, in a product that's really trying to get under $2 where it is. So our view would be it's going to probably be a local game, but industry may go to where the cheap hydrogen comes from.
What no regrets moves do you think organisations can make now to start to position themselves to take advantage of this emerging hydrogen technology?
Organisations that are currently buying fertiliser explosives or making fertiliser explosives, they are natural places to begin their journey and start to understand how to put a bit more green or blue in their life. Most organisations have a transport problem in some shape or form, and they should be looking at their fleet and looking at which part of their fleet, which part of their transport problem, even if it's a supply chain transport problem, do they think that hydrogen is going to play a place?
Once again, thank you for a very insightful discussion, Brian. Look forward to catching up again soon.